Family, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, hi, I'm Autism Mom, and on this channel we talk about autism and everything in between. Today we're doing another fair use reaction video, so let's take a look at the video.
Just getting back from an IEP meeting, let's talk about inclusion. So I've been in multiple meetings this week where we have talked about inclusive opportunities for students who are in self-contained classroom. In every single meeting that I've been in, the school team has said, well, we provide these students inclusive opportunities in lunch, in recess, in specials like music and art and STEM and PE. However, when I dug a little bit deeper, I discovered that the students in the self-contained classroom are sitting only with their classroom peers at lunch, and during art class they sit at their own table with their classroom peers, and during PE, where they push into a general education classroom, they work with their para, not their peers. Now, if you invite me to dinner and you let me sit at the table with you and your friends while you're talking, but you don't talk to me, I am not included. And if you invite a student to art class or to PE and you allow them to participate in the same activity, but they're not engaged with their peers, it isn't really inclusion. Now, inclusion gets tricky because there are students who just are not successful in a large group environment. There are students who really need a lot of support to be able to interact and engage with their peers. But there are lots of ways that we can modify an assignment, a class, a activity to really include the people that need to be included. Another option for this is reverse inclusion. That's when the general education peers come into the self-contained classroom to work on an activity or a project or learn something and build relationships with the students that are in that classroom. There are so many different ways that we can do inclusion. So when you're in the next IEP meeting and you're asking about that, get specific and ask, how is my student going to engage and be included with their peers? What does that look like?
Okay, so you've seen the video. My son's school is like this too, and I know we want our kids to be included, but I also think that we have to keep in mind that our kids are a little more sensitive to certain things than a neurotypical child. I can explain. My son's certain lunch, let's take lunch and breakfast for example. They have a main lunch area, main eating room. His class sits in, all the classes have their own table that they sit at in the one lunch area or breakfast area. And his special need class sit at their table and the other kids sit at their tables. But the kids in his class, when it's time for breakfast or lunch, they know they walk this way. They have a routine. They know what table they go to. That's their routine. Kids with autism like routine, and mixing it up doesn't always work well. Now, the lunch breakfast area is a very noisy area, and it can send some of the kids into a meltdown. Sometimes my son has meltdown because he can't stand loud noises, and the paras and the teachers all sit in between them, scattered, just to make sure if one were to have a meltdown or our kids are runners or run, one person is nearby to grab them and bring them back. They also have a schedule where they walk them one by one to get their food and punch in their lunch code to get their food code to get their breakfast or lunch. So there's a system to it. I get you want to integrate them and have them mix with neurotypical kids so that it's easier for them to play with, but I can see why they don't do it with everything, because that's the way the teacher explained it to me, that some kids are sensitive to certain things, certain programs in school, they all mix together, and some they don't because of the overstimulation, because of routine, and because of meltdowns. So I've been to the school a couple of times for breakfast or lunch. I have seen what the teacher meant by her explanation, and I also get what the mom is saying in this video. With her explanation, she wants her child to be more integrated and to mingle more with the other kids. So I can see both sides of the coins, but let's go to the comment section and see what they had to say. So the first commenter says, as a special education para taking kids to specials, I have to give hand over hand or hands-on help to 4, 5, 6 kids at a time. See, that's the same thing his teacher told me. You bet we are sitting together, because some of them are runners. Like when I come to have breakfast with Ramsey or lunch, sometimes one of the kids will just bolt out, like in the middle of lunch or breakfast, just start running out. So I can understand that. Next commenter says, I'm a SPED para at a school with 25% special education students. We are inclusive, but it's tough sometimes for all involved. We do the best we can. Next commenter says, it's the parents pushing for the inclusion. My one kid hated large classrooms and never wanted to go to specials or deal with regular education kids that were there. I noticed that with my son. He is, I say, loner, but he can be in a group with kids and he would not mingle or be close to them. He'll pull apart. Like Mother's Day weekend was last weekend. We went to my sister's lunch event and there were a bunch of kids there. They all were in the living room. He took his iPad, walked out the living room, went in the dining room. My sister has a new baby. The baby has a pack and play. Climbed into the pack and play with the iPad and laid there watching his iPad because he didn't want to be bothered with none of them. He does that in school too. I've seen him in action in school and I'm like, oh. Next commenter says, one of my students transition into K will be in self-contained but has a general education buddy class that does reverse inclusion and has lunch with them. So certain things they do inclusion and do mix them up with the other kids, but not with everything. Next commenter says, thankfully this is not so at my school. These students are included and engaged in general ED classes and lunch, special SP area and recess every day. Okay, next commenter says, yes, this is why I love that my school has unified PE with general education buddies and a reverse inclusion social period once a day. So some schools do it and other schools, so every school has a different way of doing things, and I guess it's up to us parents to see how the school does this part of inclusion with our special need kids and see if we agree with that or not. Next commenter says, so my mind was blown. I helped out in my son's classroom yesterday. They did not practice inclusion at his school as recent as 2 years ago. Yeah, for some of the same reasons that I mentioned in the beginning, because of routine, because of hands-on hands, because of noise overload, stimulation overload, sensory overload. It's a lot of things that play factor in this case, but I can definitely see both sides of the coin. Yeah. Next commenter says, and in our district, they don't even necessarily go with their grade level. The schedule is on staff convenience, not student needs, and this happened. That is true. The schedule is based on staff convenience and not student needs. I want to say that because sometimes they're not even enough staff to handle the students. And then they have to go by how many people they have to assist. So that's how they're going to run the schedule. If you would like to follow this creator, this is her TikTok page and handle. Go over on TikTok, give her a follow, and let me know in the comment section what your school does for inclusion, or if they do choose to separate in some instances. Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.